to the Stand Up Speakeasy. I'm your host, Sareth Ney, and every episode I bring a comic from all across the country to Stand Up Speakeasy. So without further ado, my pal, Cliff Cash. How are you, pal?
What up?
Good stuff. Good stuff. We haven't seen each other since like Jacksonville in at Rain Dogs. How have you been since then?
Been really good, man. For the record, for anybody watching, I don't normally wear bedazzled USA hats or shirts with flags and assault rifles. I was making a video mocking this kind of shit right before we did this. So I was like, I'm just keeping this on. I don't know if I can change fast enough. So this is what you get.
Awesome. Works for me, so I love it. But I've been watching your sketches, so it's you're quite a unique character on those sketches.
Yeah, I got on TikTok, like my whole stand-up career, people are like, "Oh, you got to do Vine. That's the new thing." And then I would go, I don't want to do any more different platforms." And then that went away. "Oh, you got to do Snapchat. That's the new thing. That's what everybody's doing." And I didn't do it, and then that went away. So I'm pretty pleased that I didn't do those other ones. Excuse me, but it seems like TikTok is like probably here to stay, and it's so big. And I just thought, well, what the hell? I'll just get on there and see what it's like. And I did a couple videos, and they got, I mean, I've had a bunch of stuff get 100,000 views, 500,000 views. Had one get almost 800,000 views. So, and it's like having those kind of numbers after being on Facebook and Instagram all these years and getting, nowhere near that. It's kind of whatever. It's rewarding or validating or whatever. It's enough for me to keep doing it. So I've been on TikTok for a couple years. I got like 64,000 followers on there, which is more than I've ever done on other platforms. So a lot of videos of me mocking MAGA and all that kind of stuff, wearing, absurd. In fact, I've got a bunch of stuff here.
Sounds good.
I was me and my brother is a New York Times bestselling author. I'm at his house, which is why all these books are back there. I don't read books, so I ain't got none at my house. We got two or three magazines. That's it. But I was sitting here. We were about to do a video because he and I are going to start doing shows together where he talks about the writing process, writing novels, and I talk about stand up comedy, and we're going to kind of like script it out and have an outline and try and tour it around to colleges and stuff like that. But I was sitting here with him. I was like, what do you want? What do you want my outfit to be for this skit?" I had everything with me. I got all these like different. I got that one from a thrift store. It's got the bald eagle and the flames. I think that's a pretty nice touch. This one doesn't have flames, just a bald eagle, but it's got like some stars. It's pretty sharp. I got the Punisher hat. The conservatives love the Punisher, even though the Punisher was written by a proud liberal, whose Twitter account says "Proud libtard, stand with Ukraine." These dudes are like, "Oh, I love the Punisher." It's like, a liberal wrote that, right? God damn it. Then I got "Ride It Like You Stole It." I got the old worn American flag hat. I got that from thrift store. And then this one, this is the funniest one. This is where I was trying to make a fake MAGA hat, and I was trying to do like on their website where you can just pick what you want the art to be on the hat, and I guess I messed up because it just showed up in the mail. Your text here. But then I started making these hats. I make these and sell them online. Unwitting Russian pawn. I have another one that says "Help, I'm in a cult." I have another one that says "Real men are kind," and another one that says "Cult 45." Another one that says "Easily duped," and I sell those through my social media. So
I noticed on your link tree, so it has so many things on it.
yeah, man, it's that's comedy. You gotta have multiple sources of income because it's just such a hustle. Like you can't, unless you're a famous comic, you're probably not making enough just from touring. Um, so you gotta have other stuff going on. So I've learned that the hard way.
You gotta diversify your bonds,
Yeah.
like
Got
you
to
tank finance.
diversify your portfolio.
Yeah, indeed. That's so rad. And yeah, and it's perfect timing because like the debates were last night, and today we can't forget the date, and we'll never forget the date. And so, you're the perfect timing for the perfect guest. So
Oh, thanks, man.
you're welcome. So you're a national touring stand-up comic, as I mentioned earlier. I got to see you in Jacksonville and at Rain Dogs. So you started in North Carolina, and so you're my first comic from North Carolina on stand-up Speakeasy. What was it like growing up in North Carolina?
Well, I grew up on the far right end of the evangelical Southern conservative spectrum. So my parents, we went to a big Southern Baptist church. My dad, before I was born, worked on a pit crew and they still raced NASCAR on dirt. And then later on, when my parents moved down to the coast, they joined a tongue talking church. So that's kind of my background. So if you ever want to know how you raise a super liberal stand up comedian, environmental and political activist, that's how you force a bunch of right wing evangelical bullshit on them, and they resist and go the other way. Uh, so I have to remember that with my stepsons, so I don't make them end up being snake handling preachers somewhere. Yeah, he
Mm.
forced his liberal ideals on me my whole childhood. As soon as I got out of the house and went to Liberty University, I'd have started to learn snake handling. But it was
Reminds
okay.
yeah, reminds me of the movie Red State. You know, what's his name from Jay and Silent Bob? He directed it or something and wrote it.
I don't
Kevin
think I've
Smith.
seen. I don't think I've seen Red State.
Oh, it's really good.
I
Yep.
don't think I have. I'll have to watch it.
hmm It's a
Yeah,
horror movie, but
North Carolina is like kind of purple in a way. I mean, we went. Obama won North Carolina in '08. We currently have a Democratic governor, which is not that rare for us. He's finishing his second term, so he's done. And the guy that's running, the Democrat that's running to replace him, is like up by a lot, 10 points or something. So he's likely going to win too. So we're going to have a Democratic governor again, and I'm hoping that people showing up to vote for him will help Kamala Harris as well. I think it's very likely that North Carolina could go for Harris in this election. So fingers crossed. And it's like Georgia, it's one of those states where I think we're getting more and more purple every year. Young people don't mostly young people don't have a appetite for homophobia and transphobia and racism and planetary destruction and all the things that you kind of have to be on board for if you really want to join the MAGA movement. So I think it's just a matter of time. I think these younger generations are gonna at least save us politically. Hopefully, they've got the wherewithal to save us environmentally too.
for sure. My friend majored in political science, and as soon as he got into like his internship, he was like, "I'm dropping out of college." So it's like I totally get it. So,
I'm not.
yep. So yeah, when you were growing up, people said you should be a comedian, and that's what they told me too. And so, if like you, I caved in, and became a comedian, and so
Yeah,
I'm glad fate brought us towards comedy. So brings people together instead of dividing them like
absolutely.
politics. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember being in. I mean, I guess all through like my early years in school, but I remember specifically in sixth grade, uh, teachers would like come and pull me out of class, and I got in a lot of trouble because I was kind of a class clown type character. So, a teacher would come to my class and go, "I need to see Cliff Cash," and I'd be thinking like, what did I do now? And I'd go out in the hallway and they go, "I want you to come. I want you to come do that voice you were doing earlier for Mr. Smith, this other teacher." And they would take me into this other teacher's room and make me do this same act out in this voice, and then they would all laugh and they'd go, "Okay, you go back to class." And And yeah, my whole life, I think when I was a young kid, I really wanted to be an actor. I mean, I wanted to be a monkey for a lot of years until, I mean, literally people would go, "What do you want to do when you grow up?" I go, "I want to be a monkey." And until I was like 12, I was a really stupid kid, not smart. And no, but literally like 5 or 6. I mean, I stayed in trees. All I wanted to do was climb trees, and I loved monkeys. I wanted to have one. I wanted to be one. And I was telling my girlfriend the night we're laying in bed and talking about being little kids, and I told her that my family was really religious. So every night, you got to pray, you got to say your prayers, and so I prayed every night. I guess most of my childhood, and I would pray to God that He would let me fly. I really wanted to fly, and I would I mean, I would think about it all. I would have dreams that I could fly. I thought about it all the time, but I got a little off track. As a young person, like elementary, junior high, I really wanted to be an actor, and I remember saying that to one of my best friend's moms, and she goes, "You'll grow out of that. You'll give up on stuff like that." And I was like, "Oh man, what a skeptical thing to say." And but I did. It just once I was a young adult, I dropped out of college. I got a sales job, and becoming an actor or a comedian, because my whole life people would say you should be a comedian. That just seemed really abstract. It's not like you don't just go to comedian school and get a comedian degree and then go get your first comedian job. And it's like you got to make your own path, and there is no formula. No, there's no playbook that tells you how to do it or what to do. It's terrible money. Features are getting paid the same thing they got paid 10 or 15 years ago, and obviously everything else has gone up. And and it's terrible money because people are being exploited. I mean, that's really the bottom line. And clubs don't want to hear that, but it's still true. Like if you have a celebrity coming in for the weekend and you're paying them $10,000 and you're paying the feature 100 a show, like that's shitty. That's unethical. And that's a good club. That's like what good club will pay a feature. So it's a tough business. You don't do it for the money. You got to like really love it to do it and stick with it. And like we were saying at the beginning of the thing, like you got to be really creative to make it work financially. It's just you know you cannot get by just on the money from the gig unless you're already like a really well known big name, like playing good clubs every weekend.
That's for sure. And I remember growing up as a kid myself, and like I my thing was like doing those real mama jokes I learned off in Living Color, and just like roasting people's moms, and so that's how I became a class clown. So I feel you on that one. And oh man, and like you said, like when you mentioned that you had to make money, like diversifying your bonds, like it took me back to like the time I interviewed Five Finger Death Punch in L.A. And they're like, Rob Zombie taught us that you don't make your money on the hour that you're on stage, you make it up your money the 23 hours that you're not on stage. So
Yeah, it's
it's pretty
true.
wild. Yeah. And so Chris Fairley presents says that classroom stuff is funny. I'm censoring it, and then he also said you're in comedic actors, comedic slash actor. Uh, so Chris is probably one of your pals, because it's pretty awesome that he's there. It's in the comment section if you click on it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Chat. Oh, now I can't see you.
Oh,
I don't know. What did he say? I missed what he said.
that classroom stuff is funny. Classrooms, like when you're growing up, and then you are a comedic slash actor. So you are meant for both.
Oh yeah, Chris Fraley. Yeah, he's a good dude.
Awesome, awesome.
What's up, Chris? Black man. That's what he's like, superhero.
Oh, nice.
He goes by Black Man, and he's got, I think that's what it is. It's something like Black Man, and he's got like an afro, and he goes around and fights the bad guys or something. I'm not exactly sure, but super good
Hey,
dude. Been real supportive of me.
that's really cool. Yeah, awesome stuff. And In 2011, that's when you first started, got up on your first open mic, and back in 2011, at 31 years old, I started when I was 30, so it's been a long road. But what was it like? Where was it at your first comedy open mic? Do you remember?
It was my home, of course, my home club. What's my home club now? At the time, it was called Nut Street Comedy, and it was this like, man, it was kind of magical. Honestly, it's a basement. It's no longer there. I mean, the basement presumably is still there, but the club's not. But it was called Nut Street Comedy. It was very like grassroots DIY. It was kind of thrown together with like old theater seats and old bar stools and just like low ceiling, brick wall, 1 foot tall stage. It was very dungeon vibes. I mean, it was like perfect comedy space. And I think it held 110 or 120. And every Thursday we had about 20 to 30 like local comics. And every Thursday we would sell it out. It was the open mic was free to attend, but it would hit capacity every Thursday. I mean,
Wow.
all the seats would be full and there'd be people standing, and this door person would turn people away. And so that's people that know and love comedy know that's incredibly rare, because usually open mics are difficult to sit through and not always great and not always well attended, almost always not well attended. um, but we had just enough like really funny locals that like, even if half the people were brutal, half of them were like pretty good and trying new stuff, and all of us were so excited to be doing comedy that we were constantly inviting our friends out and posting about it. And it was pretty magical, man. It was something that I haven't experienced since then. But I did that first open mic. I was supposed to do a 4-minute set, and I had no concept of time. But I spent like a week writing the set, and I wanted to do the whole set, but I didn't realize how long the set was going to be. And I had some laughter breaks and a applause break, and so I was supposed to do 4 minutes, and I did seven. And it went really well for a first time. So people immediately hated me for doing well on my first time and for running the light. So I was immediately an sort of a antagonist. So I had to sort of win people over. But I did not miss an open mic after that for, I would say, close to 2 years. Every Thursday, no matter what, I was there. And within about a year and a half, I started getting paid feature work. And one of the things that enabled me to do that was I was going to an open mic that had a real audience, that I was trying out new material and getting real feedback. It either worked or it didn't, and I could gauge how funny something was because I had a real audience laughing at me. Whereas a lot of open mics, it's like 30 comics on the open mic, and that's also the audience, and maybe there's 10 regular people there.
Yeah.
And then the comics who are in the audience don't support each other. They talk through the sets, or they go outside and smoke cigarettes or whatever. So this was like a supportive setting where people were really showing up to see comedy, and behaving like a real comedy audience. And it made me like it made me get better faster because of that. So I had a pretty tight 30 about a year and a half in. um, and I started touring, and just regionally, but like opening for people. And I remember the first time I got $100 to do like a 30-minute set. I was like, whoa,
Yeah.
I could never do a real job ever again. Somebody just gave me $100 to talk. And yeah, it was tough. It was really tough for the first. It's still tough, but it was really tough for those first like 4 or 5 years. And I was married, and she grew up with money, and liked money, and wanted to eat lobster and drink champagne. Kind of frou frou, girly girl, all the fake eyelashes and makeup and jewelry and all that, which is fine. But we were very different, and I was already at a point in my life on a sort of a spiritual level where I just didn't care that much about money. I had found something that I really loved, and I was willing to do it even if it didn't make much. And she was not stoked about my willingness to work for little or nothing. And so yeah, she was just constantly roasting me for not having enough money or making enough money, and it was a very like difficult uh, vibe, very difficult energy to be in all the time because I really wanted to do it and I wanted to make money. You know, it's like you don't just decide to become a comedian and then like the following year you make 100 grand a year. It's like you have to figure it out. And like I said before, there's no formula, so you just kind of everybody's winging it. And yeah, and now I still don't make a ton of money, but now I'm finally probably making the money now that she like wished I made then. But we split up, and long story, she was unfaithful, which I talk about in another podcast. I won't get into all that. I went on the Cheaties podcast and talk. It's Lace Larrabee and Catherine Blandford. Do you know them?
Nope. Uh,
Um,
are they comedians too?
yeah, they're comedians, and they have a podcast called Cheaties, and people just come on and talk about getting cheated on, or sometimes people come on and talk about being the one that did the cheating. But I did. I mean, it's like an hour and 45 minutes. I tell the entire story of our divorce and all that. But yeah, once I was out of the marriage, then it was like, okay, now I don't have somebody hounding me about money all the time. I don't have this mortgage. She kept the house, and so I took the little bit of money I was able to eke out of the divorce, and I bought that Sprinter van and just started living in the van and touring full time. And um, I was already living in a car by that point, but eventually I upgraded from the car to the van. So, but I went and saw 45 national parks in a station wagon in between touring and doing shows, and um, I don't have a pot to piss in, but I've had so much fun. I mean, I have hiked like 10 miles to a waterfall in the middle of nowhere, Michigan, and gotten to the waterfall and gone, shit, I've already seen this waterfall. I mean, that's how much I've like been out there doing it. I mean, I'll drive in some rural country road 1,000 miles from home and go, oh man, I've been to that little country store right there. That's the two elderly sisters that make the pecan pie. And so, and I've become friends with people in different communities around the country, and so now I go to this town. And I gotta have lunch with so and so and this comic, and not just comics. I've become friends with like my fans. I always say like I don't have fans, I have friends, and I just need a million more of them. But because when I'm on stage, I'm talking about social issues, homophobia, racism, and uh, whatever, wealth inequality, whatever. And so if you believe in what I'm saying and you support what I'm doing, like we're friends, whether you like it or not. So it's been cool. I know that was a really long answer to a short question, but I had a lot of caffeine today.
Indeed. No worries, man. It's pretty awesome that uh, we get to talk about everything on here, so it's awesome. And like when you explain, like when you were describing your venue, the first open mic that you went to, there's a place in Colorado called the CR 23 Bomb Shelter, and it's just like that. They just took out the house, and what's left is a basement, and it's so dope. It's out in the field in the farm area in Pueblo, Colorado, and
Wow.
yeah, it's like one of the coolest places to do stand up in.
I've never heard of that. Is it a club? Do they have like club weekends and stuff?
Nope, it's like a DIY spot. It's like grassroots, like everything. It's just perfect.
I mean,
Like,
do they have touring comics come through, or is it just kind of like locals open mic vibes?
it's mostly bands, but I was like the first one
Oh,
to bring comedy to the venue, and
nice,
yep, it was for Sareth Fest for like not this past year, but last year, and
nice.
we had like Denver comics, Colorado Springs comics, and we just partied.
And you did it there in Pueblo?
Yep, in Pueblo.
How
Yep.
many years have you done that?
The one in Pueblo's we just finished 11 years, and the one in Daytona Beach is we're going on 4 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome, dude. What's your connection to Pueblo? Is that where you're from originally?
Yep, I was I was born in Colorado, like Boulder, Colorado, and
Okay,
then I was like raised pretty much in Pueblo. So
nice.
yep, so I
Bobert
did.
country.
Oh yeah, it's
I
the chili peppers and everything. It's fantastic. Yeah, but
like old
I
Bob. I remember like hearing. This is a kind of long story, but I remember going on a date with a girl, and the date was not going. She was very attractive, and I was physically attracted to her. And to be candid, that was my main interest in the situation. I kind of knew that there wasn't a long term potential because she just was kind of a negative Nancy, and it just was not great conversation. I wanted to spend time with her. Anyway, the terrible date. She just kept playing the whole time and was just like super negative and like talked about all this dramatic shit with like her roommate and her family. And I was like, this person is like toxically negative, dramatic, et cetera, et cetera. Well, then all of a sudden, this is when I had first kind of gotten my Sprinter van, and it was during COVID, so everybody at the bar was like spaced out. And anyway, I saw somebody I knew, and I was showing him my van, and him and his girlfriend are in my van, and I'm in the van too, and I'm showing him how things work. And all of a sudden, I see the girl walking across the road and getting into her car. I was like, they were like, "How's your date going?" I was like, "Oh, there she goes, right there. That's her. Oh, she's leaving. Damn, she's leaving. I should leave. I should have been the one to leave. I can't believe she's leaving. Because I was like not having a good date, and it was so funny. And then she just left, and then like I was near a friend's house. I was like, I'm just gonna go crash at Craig's house because I was in my van. I was 45 minutes from home, and so I'm sitting there at like 1 in the morning having drinks with Craig, who I had woken up from a deep slumber to be like, "Hey, can I come stay? Can I park my van in your yard and stay at your house?" And so we're sitting there drinking beers, and I get a text from this girl, and forgive me, this is not very PG, but she goes, I can't remember exactly what it said, but it was like. We both know this isn't going anywhere, but if you've ever wanted to hate fuck a female, here's my address. And she sent me her address, and I was like, this is the crazy. I mean, I was like, in my mind, I'm like, oh, that sounds like an excellent way to get arrested. Like, this person is obviously a basket case. And I'm like telling that to my buddy. He's like, "You gotta go, dude. You gotta go." And I'd been drinking. He's like, "You get it, do an Uber, do an Uber. I'll call you an Uber." I was like, "No, dude, I'm not. I'm not like horny enough that I need to get myself into that kind of predicament." But I'd never had somebody like say that to me in a serious way. The term hate fuck, and I was just like, "Wow, what a crazy concept." And I never fully grasped it until I heard Lauren Boebert talk on TV, and I was like, "Okay, now I get it. I get it now. That makes total sense." Because she's kind of hot, but I hate her with my whole soul. Like
yeah.
with the intensity of 1,000 suns. But I gotta admit, I was a little bit jealous when that dude got that handy. When he got that handy in the Aurora. Where was that? Was that in Pueblo? I think it was. No, it
Oh
was
no,
in Denver.
I probably in
Do
Denver
you
is
know
much
about it?
more. No, that's what I was wondering what that was. I was
Oh,
like,
Lauren Boebert got caught giving a guy a hand job, or like rubbing a dude's pecker through his pants, and like him groping her, and she was vaping, all during a uh, like a off Broadway performance of Beetlejuice the musical in like a theater full of families,
oh
and
wow.
she's this like Christian conservative family values, blah blah blah, and just like doing lewd and lascivious acts in front of all these families and vaping, and they got thrown out of the theater. And then it came out in the news that the guy that she was given the hand job to is a registered Democrat who owns a bar that hosts drag shows. So it's just like everything the right is against. It's just so silly. But
She
anyway,
juiced his beetle, that's for sure.
that's right. Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice.
Awesome. Yeah, Chris said thanks for the plug. And Wills Maxwell Jr. asked, why do you keep going for stand up?
Will's opens for me a lot, and he's probably seen me bomb, and that's why he asked that question. Will, I honestly don't know, buddy. Now, to be frank, and I hope this doesn't sound boastful, but I really think that I like have it. I think I have what it takes, and not to like bash anybody else, and I certainly won't say names, but like, like all people, I watch Netflix comedy specials and HBO and whatever, Amazon, and I see comedy specials and I go, man, I I'm funnier than that person. How'd they get a Netflix comedy special? So I just feel like I just got to keep chipping away at it and do whatever I can to get. I'm now like right now as we speak, I'm finally like, okay, I gotta like go viral. Like my only chance of making it in comedy is to achieve some virality because I don't live in LA and I don't live in New York and the booker from Fallon is not gonna see me and nobody's gonna ask me to star in a show and I'm not, you know what I mean? I'm just like those things aren't gonna happen for me. So um yeah, so I have kept going because I think I can do it. I think it's just basically all I have to do is not give up. I have to not give up, and I have to change my strategy so that I can really get in front of more eyes. And you know, I I realized a long time ago that whatever happens for me in my career it's gonna be me that creates it. That nothing's gonna be done for me. Even there are people in my life that I know that could do a lot to help me and just haven't, and that's okay. Um, and it'll be sweeter when it finally happens because I know I did it on my own. But I had the realization that whatever I achieve, I'm going to have to achieve it myself, and that's when I decided to self-produce this comedy special that we just finished making. And I thought, okay, I know Netflix is not going to just give me a special because I'm very unfamous and I don't have a lot of followers and whatever. But if I go make something that's so good that it's undeniable, somebody's going to buy it. And I don't think that was flawed thinking because we made something that is really incredible. We made a 5 camera special and a sold out 550 seat theater. Wills, who just commented, actually opened for me for that show, and he's in the special. I come down the aisle, coming towards the stage, and Wills hands me a margarita, and I take it up on the stage. Um, but we made a special that is truly gorgeous. I mean, everybody who's seen it is like, "Holy shit, this is really good." Barry Katz, I don't know if you know Barry Katz. Barry produced all of Dane Cook's specials and movies. He produced Half Baked with Dave Chappelle. He used to
Oh.
manage Louis C.K. I mean, he's a big comedy industry guy. He told me it was the best looking independently produced comedy special that he's seen in his 40-year career. So big compliment. But so we made something that I thought was undeniable, and turns out it was indeed deniable because we couldn't even get people to watch it, let alone buy it. So I mean, we took it to these streamers. Like I had some really legit industry people working on this thing for me. I'm looking out the window straight at a hummingbird. That was really cool. Um, that's my ADD. This this hummingbird is just oh man, I wish I could capture it to show it to you. Let's see if I can get it. You see him?
Nope. I think I see his. Oh, there it is. I see it.
It's pretty cool. Um, so yeah, we had some really legit industry people taking it to Netflix and HBO and all that, including a guy who's the creator of one of the most successful series on Netflix. Took it to the head of comedy at Netflix, and they just totally fucking ignored him, which is fascinating to me. I wish I was important enough to ignore like really legit industry players, but anyway, so we really thought we would be able to sell it to a streamer, and that has not happened. So we're self-releasing it. And honestly, it's kind of my shit or get off the pot moment. I really I think it's going to catch on and achieve some virality. But if it doesn't, and it doesn't significantly change my career, then I may have to like reassess and get a real estate license or something, and make comedy my second priority, because I'm 44 now, and I've got essentially got a wife and kids, and I can't just you know you got to grow up at some point. 44 is probably a decent time to start thinking about growing up. So
I'm 3 years younger, so I totally feel you.
yeah, I mean, I've done the Peter Pan thing for a long time and gotten away with it pretty well, but you know, I want my girlfriend and the kids, I want them to have some security, and I want to be able to build a life for us that's secure and fun. And it's hard being away from your family for like weeks or months at a time, but it's even harder to do that if you can't justify it with like a substantial income. You know what I mean? It's
For
one thing if
sure.
I'm like, hey babe, I have to leave for 2 weeks. I have to play 8 theaters, she would be like, okay, great. Send me $20,000 through my Venmo. But, when I'm like, hey, I'll be gone for 2 weeks, but I think I'm going to come home with $2,500 after all my expenses. It's a little hard, a little more of a hard sell. Um, but I've made it this far, and I've thought about giving up a lot. And one of the things that's kept me from giving up is, like I just said, I think I do have what it takes, and I think I'm good enough that I can make it. But another thing that's kept me from giving up is that so many people believe in me. Like I don't have a million followers, but I've got you know almost 100,000 across platforms, and it's people that like really give a shit. Like people that I think if I was like, hey, I need to borrow $1,000, that people would just do it. I mean, people have had my back in such exceptional ways and so many times, and it just when you have that kind of safety net of support, it makes you kind of feel like you can't fail. And I if I give up, then that will have all been for nothing. All of that support from those people, like I don't want to let myself down, but I don't want to let those people down either. And lastly, and I should have done it in reverse order, because this is one of the most important things to me. I get messages from people that say, "Hey, man, you're just a average white dude comedian. You didn't have to talk about racism, but you did, and you talked about racism in a room full of white people, and a lot of those people probably needed to hear it. And I just wanted to message you and tell you that I think that's really cool." And I've had young people in small towns message me and say, I'm trans and no one here talks about trans issues. And if they do, they're not being kind. And it was really cool to hear a comedian mock bigotry and defend trans people, and like those kinds of messages are like, all right, I'm not going to give up for at least another month now. Every time I'm like feeling low, then I get some exceptional form of support from a friend, or I get one of these messages and I go, all right, I'm not giving up. This what I'm doing matters, and I don't have a plan B. I literally do not have a plan B. So, uh, fingers crossed that this special takes off. I think we're going to release this special on October 20th. Is our current target goal, and it's going to be on YouTube. So the only way for people to see that will be to follow me on YouTube, Cliff Cash Comedy on YouTube. And like I said, it's a 5 camera special in a 550 seat theater. I mean, it's really legit. It's got a really cool intro and outro. And the special covers everything from death and divorce and grief to homophobia and racism and the Proud Boys and the Oath Keepers. And he's got some political stuff in there. And I'm really proud of what we made. I think it's pretty awesome. So
Oh
hopefully other
yeah,
people will agree.
and you've been doing this for over a decade, but you've accomplished so much. I mean, I was looking through your bio, and it's like you've been part of Stand Up NBC and Rooftop Comedy and Dry Bar Comedy called God Needed a Driver, and you have a debut album called Halfway There on Stand Up Records, and that was number one on the comedy charts. I mean, that is pretty impressive in the short time that you've been doing stand up. Because I've been doing stand up for like 11 years now. It's like I have nowhere near those accolades.
Yeah, well, thank you. I tell people that are just starting out, they're like, "Do you have any advice?" And I'm like, I'm not trying to talk you out of it, but like, be prepared. It's really fucking hard. Like, even if you have really good luck, I had really good luck. I got Comedy Central up next, like in the first 2 years, and I got to go and perform for 1,400 people in the Wilbur Theater in Boston, and it was sold out. And I got to get in front of Comedy Central, and that was just like enough of a credit that started giving me the chops to like headline. But I was on Comedy Central up next with like Nimesh Patel was on the same show, Joe Perro, Jenny Zagrino, um, trying to think who else. But a bunch of really great comics, many of whom have gone on to do some pretty big stuff. And then I think a year later I got Laughs TV. I won Port City's top comic. And so like none of those things on their own are that big of a deal, but when you get like three or four of those things, well, now you have the credits to like headline some smaller rooms and like B clubs or whatever. Um, and even with that luck or good fortune or whatever you want to call it, it's still been really, really hard. So like I tell people like it's going to be hard even if you get a bunch of breaks. It's still hard, and it just is until it's not. I mean, you go from living in a car to to selling out a theater, and that usually it happens fast once it happens. I mean, it's real slow, 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 slow. Boom, you take off, and then the following year your life changes, but and some people are really funny for their entire lives and they never make it, and that's like that sucks, but that can happen too. And you got to love comedy enough to just go, even if I never make it, I love it, and if I can just get by, then it's worth it. And that's always kind of been my mindset until I now basically have a family, and it's like these kids are going to need cars when they turn 16. They might want to go to college. I might want to eventually retire. So I'm finally kind of thinking in those terms, and I got to make it start working for me. So hoping the special does that.
Indeed. You, you also were on Sirius XM and Comedy Zone's Almost Famous, so I wanted to throw those in there too. And yeah, I mean, those specials are just like there's so many of them, and I don't know. I made one. Well, I made two of them, but they're secret stand-up specials. So those links are sprinkled out through the entire internet, and so if you find them, there you go. You can watch it. So
Nice.
yeah, one's 9 hours long. So one person actually watched it all through 9 hours of it. So
That's
it's
awesome.
wild. Yeah. So Chris was talking through the chat. It's like 46 is when I went the kid direction. I tried being a grown up. It didn't work for me. And Chris, I totally believe in you the day I met you. And Bree Jack 94 said, I've been telling people since the first time I saw you that you're my favorite comedian. I literally can't comprehend why you haven't went viral and become famous.
Aw.
I definitely believe you can make it. So that's you got a great support system, like you said.
Yeah, Bree's awesome. Last time I saw Bree was her dad booked me to do a house show at his house outside of Pittsburgh, and I drank way too much. And then they gave me, I think they might have given me mushrooms and Molly. I can't remember exactly, but I was probably the first one to fall asleep that night and the first one to wake up the next morning. And I woke up the next morning and everybody's just like laid out asleep, like all over the house. And I just like tiptoed out of there. I had to like drive to Tennessee the next day. It was a hell of a party. I think I swung on a stripper pole. It was a good time. So, all right, it's good to hear from you, Bree.
Awesome. Good stuff. Shout out to Bree and uh, Chris and all those Wills. And you were also on one of my favorite shows in all of the land called Denver Comedy Works Thick Skin with Mike Stanley
Oh
and
yeah.
Mr. Cabos and stuff. And what you won it twice. So what was that like?
It was cool, man. It was I tell you what's funny is the second time, let's see, was it the first? I can't remember. One of the times I won it, So they have a professional showcase and then an amateur showcase, and I won for the pros. And you know who won for the amateur is um gosh, now I'm blanking on his last name. I know him really well. Gosh, Derek. Shit,
Stroud or Stroof?
Stroop.
Stroop,
From
there it
the
is.
Denver comic that
Yep.
yells and yeah, who's
Yeah.
like now he's like headlining the best clubs and he tours with Bert Kreischer and Nate Bargatze and all these people. But they had him in like the amateur showcase, and he was like, "They got me listening to amateur showcase on you know," and he was kind of pissed off about it. But it was funny because we're both like these southern characters, and so they brought us out on stage, and I won the pro, and he won the amateur, and we're talking to Mike, and I think it was Mike and who was the other dude at the time? Brant Tobler was his partner at the time, and they were like asking us questions. I was like, "This is the closest the South will ever come to rising again." It's like two comedians winning at the same time. But yeah, man, I love Denver Comedy Works. The only time I've performed there was those shows. I need to. Um, I'd really love to just do an off night there, even, but I get so worn out, like sitting down and emailing 100 clubs, and three of them get back to you, and it's just so discouraging. I don't do as much of that as I used to because it's just like it's such a small return on investment time wise. I've started doing these private shows, which, as crazy as it sounds, is like really lucrative. I'll go. I make people. They have to have 25 people at least, but a lot of times they have like 50 or 60 or 70. I mean, so I'll go and do like a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday in a region and make way more than I would doing even a lucrative club weekend. Um, so that's really kind of taken the place of a lot of my other gigs. I mean, it's just fans just reaching out, going, "Hey, can you come to my house October 21st?" And I go, yeah, it looks like I can. Let me see if I can tie another one on there close by, and I'll go do two shows and make whatever, make a couple grand. And so I've done a lot of that now. I'm really kind of learning to just make my own path. If you sit around and wait for like the gatekeepers to decide you're funny, they're probably busy watching some unwatchable garbage and missing like really hardworking young comics. But young is a relative term, of course. But um, well, buddy, I hate to get off here. I'm 45 minutes away from the kids' school, and I have to pick them up soon at
Oh, for sure.
6:45. So I have to cut it. What time is it? I can't see on my screen.
254. So
Yeah, I gotta
yeah.
go.
Oh, no worries. If I can, just a quick thing. I just call the Stand Up Speakeasy like a secret society of comics. Which five comics would you like to see on a future episode of the Stand Up Speakeasy?
Oh man, do you know Jen Snyder?
Not yet.
Jen Snyder is awesome. Wills Maxwell that commented is also awesome. Really funny and really a brilliant political mind and just really great, nice dude. Jen is really great. Jen's LGBTQ friend of mine from Columbia, South Carolina, and she has a lot of material about just gay rights and issues but she's really really funny. They would both be great. Drew Harrison, who's a Nashville comedian, he would be great. um Trying to think who else. Kevin McCaffrey, he's a good friend of mine. He's in New York. He does those like worst of like world's dumbest criminal things and all that, and he's got a podcast called Sex and the City. Uh he's got a bunch of stuff going on, but he's really great. And trying to think who else. Matt Fulcheron is really good. He's a good hang. I think he would be fun to talk to. Matt opens for Tom Segura. He's one of Tom Segura's main openers. My buddy Dave Williamson is great. You might know Dave, being from living in Florida. He started in Miami, and he lives in LA now in El Segundo. But he's one of Bert Kreischer's main openers. Super funny dude. He like has a whole niche where he cooks a lot of meat and he's like a grill master and he sells his seasoning as his merch and all that kind of stuff. He would be a really good one too.
Awesome. Thanks, Cliff. And after the special drops, I'll watch it, and we'll, if you're up for it, we'll do a part two and finish the rest of the
Absolutely.
APK.
Yeah, I'd love
Awesome.
to. Yeah. And
Fantastic.
anybody watching, please follow me on all the platforms. I'm at Cliff Cash Comedy on all the platforms: Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, Farmers Only, LinkedIn, MySpace. Cliff Cash Comedy, but especially on YouTube. If you could subscribe to my YouTube channel and watch a bunch of videos, because I'm trying to monetize my YouTube channel, and what I need to do that is 1,000 followers. So I'm like 200 away. I need 200 more followers, and I need 4,000 watch hours. So I need people to like, watch the video and enjoy it. But even if you don't, just if you just click on one of the longer videos and go take a shower, that's fine. I need to get plays on those videos so I can monetize that channel before the special comes out. But yeah, we're aiming October 20th. It's going to be on my YouTube, which is Cliff Cash Comedy. So
You got it. We'll do a part two after October 20th. So, and everyone that joined us in the chat, from like Chris and Wills and Bree, and thank you so much for joining us. And Cliff's link tree is in the description box below. So just click it and like, subscribe to all his stuff. So, and awesome. Go pick up the kids, and we will see you soon. And thanks for everyone for joining us on the Stamp Speakeasy. I'm Sareth Ney, your host, and we'll see you on the next episode. Be well and